Hi everyone, I'm Kalinda Campbell here from People to People's legal team. I recruit across the legal professional space and I'm joined by the lovely Sumaiya, and she is one of the people I'm partnered with in the senior law space. Sumaiya, would you be able to just give a brief overview of your background and expertise?
Hi, Kalinda. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast, and I really appreciate it. My undergraduate degree was a Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in accounting
Ah,
and business law. And of course, I really enjoyed the business law side,
yeah.
and so I decided to pursue a Juris Doctor degree at UNSW and did the full-on law degree. And I really, I must say that I really enjoyed the process of applying the law um, to a business and commercial context, which
Mm,
is why I did business law in the first place. But then
yeah.
jumping into the law degree, I realized I got a lot more with
Out of
that
it.
out
Yeah.
of it, and yeah, so that's my background, and
Awesome.
I've been a lawyer for at least 5 to 6 years now. So,
Yeah.
but I've worked in a variety of different areas, and
Awesome.
yes, yeah.
So Samaya does have expertise, as she says, in lots of different areas of law. Of course, you've worked in employment as well, which I think is going to be really valuable for our conversation today. But what I wanted to do today is International Women's Day is coming up, and I wanted to get a lovely female lawyer who will come on and have a chat with me about some issues in the legal industry and how those interrelate with the International Women's Day themes as well. Firstly, to start with, what do you think initially sparked your interest in the legal industry?
What initially sparked my interest was definitely the the fact that I did business law and then I went straight into law after that. That really sparked my interest,
Mm,
and some actually were suggesting just to just to stay in the business area, but I actually really enjoyed the business law component, so I decided I would do not just do a law degree but actually become a lawyer
yeah.
after that. And I think that process, as I described before, of problem solving
Mm,
and assisting clients and providing end-to-end client service,
yeah.
as well as um, I would say law provides an excellent opportunity, for advocacy and for being an officer of the court and all of those things.
100%.
So that's basically what sparked my interest in the legal
Awesome.
industry. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we'll go into some particular themes about International Women's Day, which of course are very topical
Mm.
issues in the industry and worldwide, really. Um, First and foremost, which is a very common question that women do get asked who are legal professionals, is how do you balance your work and personal life? Have you ever come across any sorts of challenges being in the legal industry and being a female?
So I think it's always a challenge, work and personal life, and balancing all of those components. But what I find really helps me is either I incorporate exercise and
Mm,
adequate nutrition and sleep to make sure that when I have those stressful times,
yeah,
which you often do get as a commercial lawyer, because
of course.
a lot of our work is client deadline driven,
Mm,
and I I would say that incorporation of exercise, nutrition, and sleep is really important in order to make sure that you are performing very well at work. But at the same time, I must say, I always try to incorporate a really good evening routine as well when I
mm,
come home. So I try to minimize screen time, and I just try to switch off and enjoy. I think a lot of the time I'll take maybe a Pilates class or maybe a yo-yo
yeah.
class in the evening. I
To
think that
wind
really
down.
helps.
Yeah.
And if I can have the weekends off, I think that's good. Just that depends on client work and things like that. But other aspect of exercise I find, and I've taken this up recently, is ocean pool swimming in one of Sydney's many amazing beaches. We have the luxury and opportunity of of going, for morning swims and things. So I try to
Mm.
fully embrace that. And I find that it just really helps kickstart the day and gives just a real energy to the start of the day.
100%. And
Yeah.
starting your day like that, I've done it many times before. It is great. It's so good. I mean, you're right. We take it for granted sometimes how close we are to all of the beaches and everything. And in weather like we have today with the humidity, it's the first thing you want to do when you get up in the morning because
Yes.
it sets your day so right. So that's so good.
Yeah, you just have to ensure that you're looking after yourself,
Mm,
um,
mm,
because you can't give your best to your work and personal life if
yeah.
you're not, I think, adequately taking care of yourself. Yeah.
100%. And I mean, I find that in the recruitment industry too. The last thing I want to do when I go home is do more work. So I agree. It's so good to go home,
Yeah.
switch off, and just have that separation between work and personal life. And having that downtime, especially being a litigation lawyer, is really, really important for sure.
I'd like to just add that sometimes you can't help but do the work after 6 p.m. I think essentially it is client driven, so
Yeah.
we just have to facilitate that for the clients.
Mm.
And but on the days where I am able to get that balance, I think that's really important. And any firms that also do offer time off in lieu and
Yeah.
you know different methods to facilitate that.
Work-life balance
Yeah, yeah.
initiatives. And I mean, that does lead on to our further conversations further down the line. But yes, a lot of firms have very different sort of work-life balance initiatives, and a lot of them will be tailored to their staff as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, I have seen when there are a lot more women in a law firm, they will focus on their parental leave policies. Whereas if they don't have as many women, they won't really look at the parental leave policies. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you there as well. In the legal industry, do you think that employers do enough to support women? The reason I ask this question is there's been a lot in the media about countries around the world who have adopted things like menstrual leave or period leave or things like that. Do you feel that here in Sydney, the law firms and employers do enough to support women in that kind of way?
I definitely think that so worldwide there's definitely been that shift.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. And the International Bar Association has done some um, good surveys about this and things, and Australian media in particular have covered this extensively. And I do think that legal industry employers have responded in supporting women going through different stages of life.
Mm,
I have seen, and particularly as an employment lawyer, this
yeah.
and litigation and dispute resolution lawyer, I think that this really interests me because um, I've seen policies that have incorporate fertility,
Ah,
and women
yes.
that are undergoing,
Treatments.
quite treatment,
Yeah.
treatments for IVF
Yeah.
and also for adoption as well. So
Hmm.
if they are thinking of adopting children and um, as well as obviously the standard parental leave entitlement and
Of
things like that.
course.
But I do find as Australian legal employers are recognizing that it's very important to make sure that their workplace policies are inclusive of women, which I
Hmm.
think is always good. So
Yeah, yeah. And do you feel that there are any gaps, or do you think anything more needs to be done in the legal industry?
I must say I've not seen menstrual leave,
Mm,
although that would be great. I think that you know worldwide we are seeing a bit of a shift
yeah.
towards incorporating that woman's menstrual cycle is actually, I mean, integral to her functioning, but
Mm,
also at the same time, um, you know, from a women's health perspective, you know, women also have, the menopausal cycle, and that
exactly.
also
Yeah.
can affect them, you know, and so I
Their
think that,
performance as
and the
well. Yeah.
performance exactly, and so I think that as society sort of understand that women's health is not and their well-being in the workplace is not just a woman issue. It's just, I think
Needs to adopt that.
everyone
Yeah.
needs to have that, and I
That
think it's,
understanding at
yeah,
least.
a little
Mm,
bit more inclusivity. But as I say, that's also very similar for male health and men's health, and
For
just
sure.
having
General
a gender
awareness.
inclusive society with
Yeah.
more inclusive discussion about health and incorporating that
Mm.
into workplace policies. I must say that I think is a challenge for employers in general.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And we can
Okay.
see that with things like the 4-day work week being adopted. But yeah, just generally
At least having
women's
those discussions.
having those discussions I
Yeah.
think are important, particularly. But I must say I have seen things like fertility leave and women
Increasing.
women having leave for IVF and other procedures.
Yeah.
As society evolves
Progress.
to recognize that there is a need for that.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more, because I agree that even though the legal industry is seen as a very traditional sort of industry that's not as progressive as some others, I do feel that they have done well in those few policy areas, such as the IVF treatments and fertility. You're right. I see so many firms that offer those sorts of benefits in their lists as well, which is nice to see. But yeah, of course, there has been that overall conversation globally about menstrual leave, but I think it is more relevant to other sectors, not as much to legal, because like you said, it really comes down to that discussion point at the start of someone's career as to whether they do want to proceed into a lawyer position or not, due to those sorts of issues as well. So my next question is, what is the most memorable advice you've ever received from another woman?
So this advice comes from my mum, and she always says to me, no matter what's happening, always keep going, keep moving forward, put one foot in front of the other, get yourself together, and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're ensuring that you're learning and you're growing, and that's just an evolving journey. So just keep moving forward, no matter what is happening. And I think that really rings true in today's challenging work environment.
Of course, and especially in legal, when
Yes.
the curveballs are all different shapes and sizes, but
Yes.
it's so right. It's peaks and troughs, and it's the walk of life, and that's such nice advice.
Yeah.
If you could look back on your time as a law student, what advice would you give yourself?
Well, I would say that I would just keep going. Obviously, trust my instincts, knowledge, and enthusiasm. Please know that everything is going to be fine, and that you don't need to take the traditional clerkship pathway in order to be a commercial lawyer, or in fact any other kind of lawyer, but you just need to focus on yourself, your strengths, and what you enjoy, and always going back to why I started studying law in the first place. And that's really, really an important component. And
So
making
true.
sure that you are actually focusing at law school with and engaging with the subjects as much as possible, because you won't really get that opportunity again. It's such a pure way to learn and be involved with your studies in that type of way.
Yes. I really like that. For those of you who don't know, I do a JD as well, so that rings very true to me.
That's amazing.
Very true to me. And no, I thank you for that advice, because I think that that's really valuable for a lot of law students to hear. I do time and time again see a lot of people stressing so much about clerkship opportunities, high grades, all of those sorts of things. And it's good for them to know that there are alternative pathways to getting where you want to be, and just to really focus on why you chose to go down this path in the first place is such good advice. Because that, even when you were saying that, I was thinking, oh yes, why did I start going into law? I am passionate about it, and that's what people need to really feel what rings true to them. What kind of changes would you like to see in the legal industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
So I would say that there's been a number of technological changes in society in general. And firstly, I think the adoption of not I think, but the adoption of AI, artificial intelligence, into legal practice,
Yeah.
it's actually one of the number one issues at the moment. Many law firm leaders and senior executives are trying to understand
The
what
best
it
way.
means for legal practice.
Yeah.
The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, Chief Justice Bell, has also issued a practice note about the incorporation of artificial intelligence and
Right.
its implications,
Okay.
for work and submissions and court work in general.
Mm.
So that is a really useful starting point for practitioners to understand
Yeah.
the implications of adopting artificial intelligence into their practice. But
100%.
I think that what I would like to see from in the legal industry, and what is really happening at the moment, is how do we incorporate artificial intelligence into our practice, in making sure that it's aligned with the rules,
Mm.
but also at the same time adopting the technology so lawyers get the benefit out of it,
Get the most out of it.
out of
Yeah.
it. And I think that is going to be a challenge, particularly looking at what AI can and can't do, but also
Yeah.
how it can facilitate, our support staff, paralegals, understanding how and how admin staff will use that, how paralegals will use that moving forward, but how lawyers will incorporate that into our everyday, particularly how it will sit alongside billable practice. And
Yeah.
also
Right.
I think
I wonder if
yeah.
billables will be adjusted in the future due to
So there are
AI.
some firms that have incorporated AI as part of their billable, which I think
Right.
is quite
Interesting.
fascinating. It's
Yeah.
quite a future forward,
Mm.
futuristic move. But that's the type of change, we're seeing technologies like autopilot and things
Yeah.
like that. How are you going to incorporate that into your legal practice? That's going to be,
100%.
whilst also making sure that the legal workforce
Mm.
isn't completely disrupted,
Yeah.
but assisted and enhanced by the use of artificial
Yeah.
intelligence.
I couldn't agree
Yeah.
more. I mean, I've met recently actually with a national law firm. They've actually now they're global. They've just gone global, and they've developed an AI tool that reduces discovery time from 10 hours to 2 hours, which is incredible,
Yeah,
right?
that is actually amazing. I was going to say that as well. So
Exactly. Things like that.
yes, yes,
It's such a good opportunity, and like you said,
yeah,
it's not like it's taking away
yeah,
the job of a lawyer, it's
yes,
aiding the job of a lawyer, because nothing can really take away the job of having that personal touch. And even in law school myself, we study so much about how AI can be implemented into research and things
that's
like
right.
that, which is an incredible time to be in.
That's really fascinating, Kalinda.
Yeah.
I think that,
Yeah.
and also I think that type of understanding and learning that needs to take place in law firms to get all practitioners, up to
Up to
speed about
speed.
what we're doing. But
Yeah.
I'm really glad that your studies are actually incorporating it already.
Already,
Yeah,
yeah, which
yeah,
is great to see. Well, look, that about sums up everything for today. Thank you very much for joining me, Sumaiya. It was
that's
lovely to speak to you. And I'm sure that if there are any other questions that anyone else has about women in law, or even the legal industry in particular, you can definitely reach out to myself and we can have a further chat.